everybody. Welcome to the Be Revolutionary podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Perrie. This is the podcast where we interview our guests and we try to bring out the revolutionary stories behind their success. And we want to elevate and revolutionize your business. We're laughing because we just got off of our head coach meeting. And, you know, I try to bring the same energy to our manager calls just because, you know, people, we're getting out of code. People are still sitting down on their computers, low energy, and I'm just trying to elevate the room.
You do a great job.
So, well, thank you. So, speaking of elevation and revolution, we've got Kate Broddick here, our latest head coach in the Brantford and now Norfolk area.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you
very much.
I'm excited to be here.
This is crazy because we're in like the world's busiest market right now.
Yes.
And you're like the world's busiest agent.
I don't know busiest, but I'm busy.
Most busy, sorry. And you've decided to spare some time and hang out with me, so we really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I wanted to see this office, which I've driven past, but you're also so busy that you haven't been here. So I'm glad to see you here in this office.
Exactly. Well, I've got to show my face sometime, right? So, again, thank you so much. And, you know, how we kind of start off these podcasts is, you know, first we kind of go into a little bit of an introduction. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your market, when you joined Revel, that kind of stuff.
So I'm Kate Broddick, and I am the head coach and team leader for the Kate Broddick team, Brantford, and now Norfolk, which is very exciting.
That's awesome.
We don't have any bricks and mortar in either office yet, but it's soon to come in the next couple months. Right. So obviously with our market being in Brantford and Norfolk, we are within about a 30-minute drive of each other, which makes for a seamless transition for our clients. Yep. I have been licensed for just over 10 years, which is exciting. And I have been with Revel since September of 2021. So it's a very, very new switch.
Yes, it is new. It feels very long, though.
It feels like
you've been with us forever is kind of what I meant.
I know. You know what? It really does. It was, I think everyone who has commented to me has said they believe that the two brands fit nicely. Yeah. And I take that as a compliment because, you know, I really admire Revel's brand and what they've done with it. So
right. Well, you know what? Speaking of branding, it's funny because we're kind of on the same podcast circuit. Yeah. Right? It's like if you do one, I'm doing one the week later. Yes. Or vice versa.
Yes.
So it's really, really cool to watch. And what I really love about you is that our styles are actually very, very similar.
Yes.
Although you're more on trend with the shorter reels and the TikToks, and where I'm more of like, I don't know.
Gucci swag.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
You are too, though. You are too.
Yeah, I love it, though.
So how important is, you know, keeping up with your brand on social media? Obviously, it's super important, but what I mean is how would you describe it to somebody who's just starting in the branding on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube?
I think it needs to be extremely intentional. I mean, what you put out there is how people are going to view you, and it's what you're representing. Yep. And it's revolutionary. So, I mean, I think of back when I first started in the business, and I was black and gold were the colors I had kind of gravitated to. I think I was drawing inspiration
black
for
and gold.
Yeah.
Don't say anything bad about the needing gold.
Yeah, but I was drawing inspiration from top agents at the time in Burlington, and as I kind of grew and evolved, my branding did as well. Yes. And I think that that's really important to continue to grow, and I think your brand needs to kind of match who you are in those times, but at the same time hold your similar values. And I mean, on Instagram and Facebook, you know this. I mean, obviously I follow you. We follow each other. Of course. That branding is huge.
It is.
Branding is huge.
And so thanks for bringing that up, by the way, about the branding switches and how you grow.
Yes.
How many times do you think you've switched up the overall design?
4 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
4 times. Almost just over every 2 years we've had now, we've just launched our 3rd website. And I'm talking from scratch, not even like an update. Yep. I get bored very easily. I like the same undertones of our brand, but you want it to be fresh.
I agree.
Modern, almost stylized.
Oh.
Some big words.
Designer.
Yes.
So if anybody from the Fine Estates team is watching or listening, I get in a lot of trouble for, oh no, you want to switch up the listing presentation again? you want to do I'm like, yes, I do. So we've probably done three for sure. Overall brand board, I guess you could call it, switch ups. Logos stayed the same. We've switched the logo once, but the overall message, at first we were playing off Revel's brand a lot, and it was the blue and the orange, and we're kind of incorporating a softer blue with a transparent kind of feel to it, where it was almost more modern. And as Revel grew, so did we, and then we kind of migrated into our own separation. When I first started the Fine Estates team, it was completely different from Revel. So what I think is, obviously Revel promotes, all brands, all styles and everything like that. But I thought it was a good idea to kind of align myself with some of the brokerage designs as well. Yes. And I've seen your sides, and you've migrated the two very beautifully as well. Yes, and we've actually just recently changed our logo for the third time, and I appreciate the notice on the $1 million listing. I know, I loved that. And I think it's true. As you evolve into your role on a team or within a brokerage or as an independent agent, you need to keep that fresh. So you know what? Our teams are probably along the same minds of are they seriously switching this up again? Yep. It's because you know what? We've changed. We've evolved. It's different. Times are different. And do you think opening the second office maybe had something to do with that change? You know what? We started to really dive into our branding and how people would perceive us a lot deeper when we started opening the offices and drawing from inspiration on how those offices would appear. And I would say yes. And also because our billboards were changing and we wanted it to be more of that Jennifer Blakely black and white styled, more lifestyle photos. Yep. And we didn't think that our current logo fit it. It just looked different. It looked weird. It didn't look right. It was cursive, wasn't it? Yeah, it was cursive, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the writing. That's what I've always said. Never do cursive. Never do difficult. Cursive. It's difficult. Well, they're removing it from schools. Well, there he goes. It's not even, nobody's even. It's just a font now. But what I mean is, it is actually difficult to read when you're driving by on a billboard or a. So what's really interesting is the contrast between the cursive that you had to what you have now, which is big, bold. All the letters are lowercase. They are. Interesting choice. Yeah. Any reason why, or just it looks great? I don't know. I just kind of, Carolyn put it together. She's one of our, in our marketing, heavily in our marketing. And she presented it to me, and I was like, you nailed it. Perfect. I love it. It's because, I bring that up because Gracie, our new admin, and our team manager, Andrea, they posted like it just listed or whatever, and the address was the capital and all the lower cases. I'm like, that needs to be all caps. See, so it's really funny to see how we share so much of the same visions, but we're kind of slightly different at the same time. That's what it's all about. It is. But I think you're right. Once you start opening the offices and branching into, Norfolk's kind of close to Brantford, but it still is a different market. Very different. Very different. It's more rural, more small town. Yep. Even just the people in general, just lovely. You got a lot of farmers. It's a lot more land mass than in Brantford. A lot more spread out. Whereas Brantford's becoming a lot more dense population, and so even the feels of the two offices are completely polarizing. Yes. And so that's what I love about the Niagara-on-the-Lake office. It's luxury. It's modern. Muskoka office is what you would expect a Muskoka office to be. And we're in the middle of that branding change now to kind of, we are more unique properties. Yes. And farms were my first niche. They're still my niche. That's what I love. I've loved farms. We grew up in a town called Churchill, Ontario, which is in Innisfil. For 20 years. And, it was a town of like 200 people. So the rural lifestyle was what we're all about. And I would love to go back to those types of roots just because those properties are so fun. They're fun to market. Yes, they are. The people are great. Yes. And it's just, there's something about the rural community. I've always told Gabe, I said, you know what, I kind of want to one day just pick up and move to Colorado, or like, those small American towns, or Canmore, Alberta. And,
I love that.
I love that. And that's what I love about Niagara on the Lake too. Like, you could still go to that corner diner on Main Street and get a breakfast for $3.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that. I love it.
And it's really funny because
excuse me, Flo. What's the soup du jour?
I love it. And it's funny because obviously, like, most people know, if they do follow on Instagram, I love fashion. So like, you can take your Versace shoes and still sell houses that have horses and alpacas on them.
Yeah.
So
Well, you can get a pair of mucks with a heel on them, I'm sure.
I don't have mucks with heels, but that is definitely my next purchase.
Exactly.
But
like
it's
a Louis Vuitton design.
Yeah. I do like the rural feel. Actually, selling rural properties is definitely a niche market that I enjoy as well. Please look out for my new listing on Harley Road that's coming up.
Probably be sold by the time it airs.
Yeah, by the time this airs, it's going to be gone. But yeah, so I totally can relate to that.
So let's kind of rewind a little bit.
Yep.
Because although I love all the brand talk, but I think most people who are going to be listening to this are probably going to be interested in hearing how you got started. So I apologize. 10 years, you said?
Yes, it's just over 10 years.
10 years. And what did that first year of real estate look for Kate?
I really feel like I was dizzy. It didn't just click. It was a lot of, people say it, but blood, sweat, and tears, sleepless nights. How do you figure this out, right? There's really no manual on how to run a real estate business. And especially 10 years ago, when you got licensed, it was like the broker of record dropped a heavy phone book, if anyone remembers what those are, on the desk and, start calling. And I never did that. I never, ever once did that. And it's funny because when I came out, Facebook was just kind of getting started, businesses, right?
Yes.
Businesses were just starting to advertise on it. And I utilized that to the best of my ability because it was in my opinion, the easiest way I had no budget. Like I had $0 to spend. I didn't sell any houses, right? So until you get those paychecks start to roll, you don't really have much to lean on. So I leaned on social media. But the first year was definitely a lot of time management. What do you do in an 8 to 9 hour day when you don't have listings, when you don't have buyers, right? What do you do? Well, you have to do something. You have to get yourself out there, writing blogs, creating content, which 10 years ago, creating content was a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's why now people are like, man, like, do you have someone following you around with a camera all the time? No, I'm just really good at batching content because I've been doing it for a decade.
Yes.
Right. So, but I would say the first year there's a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of, did I make the right decision leaving my cushy dental hygiene job where I made great money and I had set hours and I knew what I was bringing home? It was a lot of uncertainty, but I wanted it. And that was the difference.
So what made you want it? You had any experience with entrepreneurialism before that?
Except for my husband's clinic. My husband's a chiropractor, and so I helped him with his office. Outside of that, no, but I'm really good at kind of delegating to myself what needed to be done. And I'm quite creative, and that's where the marketing and advertising came in. But I just had a vision, and I can't really explain it. It's not like real estate fell in my lap, and it's not like this job was handed to me. It's not like my team was handed to me. I just had this vision of something bigger and better to do with it, not just selling houses and doing transactions. I mean, that can get really boring.
Yes.
It's the everything else that has come my way within real estate that has made my career so exciting. And so I had a vision, and I just kept going towards that vision. That was it.
I love that because, again, similarities with us it's crazy because when I first started, it was the only thing I felt I knew how to do other than actually sell to people when I'm in front of them was marketing. Yeah. And it's not like I had necessarily had any experience with marketing. No. It was just more of like, being creative and getting yourself out there and taking advantage of the technology that was available and coming out hard every week with a new video back then was very difficult because you're like, there's no TikTok, there was no Instagram Reels, there was no vertical content. Nope. So everything that you had to come up with had to be like engaging, and it had to be something that separated you from the pack, because when everybody was doing just photos for your listings, nobody was I was bringing in listing videos. And then when the listing videos were becoming very, very popular, I was migrating into lifestyle videos. Then when everybody's doing lifestyle videos, and still are to this in some degree, and to an extent still work, but now it's shorter videos.
Yes.
So what was kind of your style when you first came out? Because I didn't follow you 10 years ago.
No, but you know what? It's really funny that you said that about the videos, because in my market in Brantford at the time, we started coming out with videos where I would introduce the house at the beginning. And it was like, people were like, oh my God, this woman's in her videos? Like, that's weird.
What is that?
I know, but you know what? People connect more on an intimate level when they can see your face, when they can see that you're friendly, they can hear your voice, they can see your tone, your body language. Those are all ways of communicating. And so I thought, you know what, if I'm going to get myself out there, I need to be out there. And as intimidating as that is, and you're always going to have the people that have something to say about what you've done. You've just got to keep pushing through, and you'll find those niche markets of people who share commonalities with you, right? You being a dad with 3 kids, me being a mom with 3 kids, we're running businesses. You start to find your pack, your people. And so as those videos started to come out, and then everybody started to do these real estate videos, right? Yep. And then we started doing more lifestyle videos. So like now we're doing like chats together, talking about personal things. Yes. We don't run a podcast, but we do run quite a few little series where we chat with each other. Mostly because I am technologically not advanced and can barely turn on my phone on the best of days. But like it's just about finding what you're comfortable with. And even if you're just a little too comfortable, then you need to step out and do a little something different.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't be a little too comfortable in everything, because I find that then you almost come off as complacent.
I agree, and it's overdone because people are getting inundated with new content every day on their phone.
Yes.
So there's Kate doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Come on.
Flip.
Yeah, I don't even want to watch the whole thing anymore, even though it's only 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how...
We also have the attention span of a bumblebee, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me too. Oh, my God. So that's called self-awareness.
Yes.
And one of the things, we're talking at the Buzz Conference tomorrow. That's one of the things we're going to talk about is think about how you work through your social media platforms. How do you work through Facebook is different how you're going to work through Instagram. Yes. And how you work through Instagram last year is probably going to be different than how you work through it this year
1,000%.
Because of the introduction of Instagram Reels and the way people swipe up. And you've got to understand that. And I still see realtors doing the same old... YouTube style long form content, which is okay. But I think that if you're not being consistent in the variety, that's super, super important.
I agree with you. And that goes back to branding that we first talked about. It's about that evolution of your brand, right? It doesn't mean you necessarily have to change your logo or your website, but you yourself do have to evolve. And part of that is switching up your content on social media. And let's be honest, if you are not on social media, if you are not marketing yourself, you are doing everybody around you a disservice, including the potential clients that you probably just lost because someone else is doing it better.
So it's obvious that building a strong brand is important. And, we kind of talked about, how that growth is so crucial, especially for somebody with a team and then with the 2 offices. But when did that growth happen for you that you decided you needed to start a team? I think everybody's probably interested in that as well.
Yeah. And you know what? I get this actually asked quite a bit. I have agents that call me and say, when did you know you wanted a team? Or how should I start this team? And I was in year 3 and I was busy. To the point where I almost felt like I wasn't being efficient in everything. I was being sub-efficient in some things because you're just so run off your feet, right? And so the first thing I did after year 3 was I hired an admin. Yes. And that was the best move I have ever made. And I truly feel if you're transacting 50, 60 a year, you need an admin. You instantly should be hiring somebody. If you're not on a team that already provides the admin, you need to be hiring someone.
Yes.
And so I hired an admin, and then I slowly started building up agents. And then as the agents grew, I started building up the support staff as well. And there is no rhyme or reason for this, but the only tip that I will ever give is do not grow too fast. Because everyone thinks that the more people you have, the better. It is actually hard to manage people.
Correct.
And personalities.
Correct.
And expectations.
Yes.
So there needs to be systems and processes in place, a solid foundation, a good support staff before you can really start kind of growing the agents, because you know what? Agents, they deserve the leads. They deserve to have expectations in terms of what their revenue is going to look like. And, coming into I was coming into year 10 now, it has taken me a decade to get to a place where I finally feel like I have it figured out.
Right.
And we are now at 24 team members. Wow. And we have doubled in size in September.
Crazy.
But that took me 10 years to realize what I needed to have in place to get there. So right now we have 7 admins, and we have 2 part-time, nighttime staff for booking showings and feedback and some customer care. They're actually my support staff's kids. Yeah. Right. So it was their first job. I really feel honored for that.
Yep.
And we have 2 new agents that are in their courses that will be set in August, and that will take us to 24 people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that ratio, because that's something that we experienced a few months ago, where we brought on Andrea. She was doing an amazing job at, helping to provide a structure to the team.
Yes.
However, when we hired Andrea, she was doing the deals, the transaction sheets, the marketing, and the managing of the team.
It's a lot.
And I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And even now that we have Gracie, it's even with 2 admins versus 7 agents, that ratio it's almost like teetering, where we might need to bring somebody on that could just do the transactions.
That's right. And you know what? We grew the positions as needed. Yes. We always had ideas as to what we could do to, I'm not going to say fill their time, because that is like, you're just giving menial tasks. You need to give intentional tasks that are going to help drive the sales, drive the team, drive the morale, drive the culture, obviously provide exceptional service to your clients. And so we are right now at 9 support staff to 15 agents.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it's almost a 2-to-1 ratio. It's not really, it's high, but I look at what they do in a day, and it is unbelievable. Their days are full. The clients are getting serviced really well. The team feels good about it. The agents feel good about it. And so, it took a while to get there, though, I will say. Right. But I will say to everybody that if you're thinking of growing a team, without a doubt, don't hire agents before you hire an admin. You need a foundation of systems first.
Yes. Did you do that? By the way, sorry to cut you off. Did you hire before you?
Admin first.
Okay, right.
Admin first. Yeah.
Because I did hire our first admin first, but technically at the same time we did 3 agents at the same time.
And it's struggling.
It imploded after 3 months.
That's what I mean.
It did. So that I went back to solo with my own admin for about 10 to 12 months or so, or less. Yeah. And then we brought everything back, but you learn through those mistakes.
It does. And I had many mistakes along the way. Trust me, once again, there's no manual for this, and they weren't necessarily mistakes. I learned so much from the path that I took, and I would never change it for anything. And for agents out there who are like, well, it took you 10 years to feel like you figured it out. 10 years goes by so fast, and you're learning and growing as you go. So it's not like you're fumbling the entire time. You do, through trial and error, realize what works and what doesn't, or what's more efficient is how I like to say it. But I would say the admin staff, when you're going to bring on agents to your team, they need stability, they need structure, they need organization. Agents are really good at selling themselves. I find in my experience, they're terrible with administration.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
So please provide them with that, or at least give them the foundation and systems and tools to do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So. I totally agree. Andrea and Gracie are probably listening and be like, yep. Because of course, when agents aren't properly, filling out their forms and records.
Yes, that's right.
Usually the first person to hear about it, but fill out my forms. So, you know,
at least you can be honest about it.
Yeah, well, you know what? The thing is that I learned at a very early point in my career is that I hired my admin. I think I had only done like 12 deals that year.
You're a risk taker, though.
Yes, but also because I was so focused on like the marketing and being the brand ambassador for the team. And that's kind of what I still am. And what I believe in is like, for example, and this is not saying that, you know, I've made so much money that I can hire a lawn care person. It's that I don't have time to cut my grass. I don't have time to clean my pool, unfortunately. I don't have the organizational skills to do the admin side of it. Yep. I track the numbers all the time, but I don't use Excel. I hate it. I
still don't know how to use it.
I'll use Canva. I'll use Canva or Photoshop, but I'm not using Excel, right? So I've leveraged out the pieces of my business that I know I don't want to do. Sometimes you have to suck it up, but B, the things that I know I'm not good at.
That's because you've realized you're genius, and that's very smart.
Oh, well, thank you. I just got Kate Broddick called me a genius.
But you know what, though? It's leveraging. That's the one thing that agents don't do enough of.
Leveraging what I hear now. That's cool that you brought that up because there's two types of leveraging. You can't just leverage off things that are important or things that you need to take care of.
Yes.
You have to leverage with intent. And I think the cool part about all of this is I'm not sure how your team is structured, but we actually just hired one of our top agents who actually got the office over here. Oh. So that was a little, fun promotion that we gave her. But Crystal Simons is now the vice president of sales. Awesome. So now, as opposed to me, I still have my alone time with my team, but Crystal is now taking over the one-on-ones, the sales meetings, the lead generation distribution. Yes. So, and there's a reason for it. It's because it's the same reason why I wanted another office and another one, because eventually, as much as I love sales, my whole goal is to be that brand ambassador. It's never changed ever since I first started real estate. I wanted to be the face of my business and make those connections. That's why 85% of my business is agent-to-agent referrals, because you go out there and you make those connections, you make those relationships. Yes. Do you have any growth plans or opportunities? Like I know you just said how you just hired.
Well, you just said Crystal you promoted. So I have a director of operations who does that as well. So part of the leveraging for me was, and I mean, I love the connection with my team. So for most people who see our team, they see that we're extremely tight knit, and that's how we've always been. Yeah. And I love the touch bases with my teams, the one-on-ones, but I am very busy in terms of my own sales and transactions. Yep. And I have a family, and we need to be able to leverage so that we are not losing ourselves to the things that are most important. And that's my business and my family. Of course, the roles are reversed. It's family first and then your business. Yep. And so Allison came on board, and she now takes care of the lead generation. She takes care of the one-on-ones. She takes care of touch. We call them touch bases. Every week we touch base with each of our agents, and then we have a formal sit-down one-on-one once a month. She takes care of all of those things that keeps our agents motivated, make sure that there's no barriers that are being swept under the rug, that there's no, emotions that are being heightened because we haven't communicated. Yes. And that's the biggest thing on a team, is that you need to be able to be in constant communication, not because of like a big brother eye watching you, but because we're there for support, collaboration, culture. See, right?
I love that, because when Crystal first started in the role, and hopefully she doesn't kill me for talking about it, it was very it was difficult to make that transition from agent to, because everybody's like, well, I didn't get into real estate to have a boss. And say, listen, that was not the intent. The intent with this is we're here to support, not force. Yes. And we're here because you're here because you wanted to come on to a real estate team to hit a certain goal. Yes. And same reason why I've got a real estate coach. And I hired her, and every time before I hop on the call, I'm like, shit. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. And like, I didn't leave my corporate job at LA Fitness to go and work for somebody else, but when you hire somebody or you become a part of a team or a culture or a family for your own goals, you're essentially coming on because you need accountability.
Yes.
And that's what these meetings are.
Yes.
It's hey, how close are you to your goal this month that, you wanted to be, the difference from last month? Did you hit it? Did you not? What do we need to make up for?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not quite there yet. Okay, well, what are the actions that you've taken to make sure that you've hit your goals?
Well, how about just let's reevaluate your business plan?
Yeah.
Like, we so one of the great things about our team is every November we have our own one-on-one meetings with our agents to do goal planning and business planning for the following year. And I always say that, once again, all constantly evolving. The marketplace is constantly evolving.
Yes.
So your plan or your business plan doesn't always finish the way you started it. And so those little meetings once a month is like, okay, well, in your business plan, you said you were going to do this, this, and this, but it's not working. So why would we keep doing it? Right? I'm a big believer that why do you keep hitting the drum at the same beat if it doesn't sound good?
Right. Change
it. So what's working, what's not working? And sometimes it takes, even I have a business coach.
Of course.
I feel like I have a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
And I need them.
So do I, yeah.
And what I love most about having a business coach or a team lead or a director of communications or a crystal is that you get to brainstorm and collaborate and air out your business.
Yes.
What's going on? What's working? What's not working? So it gives almost like that ear. And sometimes just having those conversations and letting the person talk it out themselves, they come up with those aha moments. Right? And it's like, okay, that was working. That's not working. So, it's important. And I love to hear that you have someone on your team that's doing something similar for you, that's leveraging what your team needs so it can free you up to do what you do best.
Exactly. And what I find is the biggest hiccup between somebody making 250,000 to 500 to $1 million.
Yeah.
The biggest difference between each one of those increments is you're not treating your business as a business. What does a business have? A business has a custodian. A business has a marketing department. It has an accounting department, admin support. It has leadership.
Yes.
It has, hopefully, growth opportunities. And I think that's the biggest disconnect, that a lot of agents are still viewing their career as a sales job.
Yes, and it's not. It's a business. And that's the biggest thing. And you know what the really funny thing is as well, and this is kind of steering the conversation in a different way. If you ask an agent what the number one thing or task to do, they kind of look at you like, I don't know. I'm like, lead generation.
Sam, did you hear that?
Lead generation.
What's the number one thing? The number one job of a realtor?
It's the truth, though.
Yes.
And I can't believe some of the answers. It's like, oh, well, I guess like social media, follow-up, social media.
Showing
content.
houses.
I'm like, oh, my good God. I honestly, I almost feel like there should be a course just on lead gen. Like, it is a daily task. I spend between 2 to 3 hours every single day, Monday to Friday, generating leads. Whether that be online sources, whether that be connecting with past or referral clients, whether that be on social media. If I do not generate leads, I do not have a business.
Of course.
Plain and simple.
Yep. And it's funny because as the director of recruitment with Revel, I sit down with between 60 and 90 agents a year. We brought on, I think, 80 last year, by the way. But the number one question that always throws people off is that same question. I say, what is the number one job of a realtor? And especially as a new, just new to the biz or even going through school, their first answer is customer service or showing houses or building relationships. Like, yes, and yes. However, you can't do any of those without a lead. Your number one job is to lead generate.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I love that we're on the same wavelength.
Yes.
And it even can be difficult for even your experienced realtors on your team to kind of I don't want to say understand that because they understand it. You beat them down with it. So what do you think is how do you keep teams motivated to do lead generation?
You know what? It's a culture thing. You need to really keep that.
Do you ring a bell?
You know what? We have a joke because I do video messages to my team.
Yep.
On Monday mornings because once again we don't have the bricks and mortar office, and I start every single video with like team. And I'm jacked for that video. I am excited, just like you are on our head coaches meeting or when we started this. Yeah. You got to set the tone. But I believe that the reason why lead generation is what people fall short on is the fear of rejection. Yep. People are afraid of people saying no. And you're in a sales position. Like, you have to ask for the business.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be that hard ask where you're like, I would like to sell your house. Is that okay? It's a get to know them. Do what works for you. Use your personality. Leverage your talent or what people like about you. And, that's the biggest thing is I think they're afraid of someone saying, well, no, I don't want to work with you. Or, you know what, please don't call me anymore. Or, you know what, I'll get back to you when I can. Or you can't take that to heart. And at the end of the day, you have to look at this and say, you know what, if you get 9 no's and 1 yes, you just got 1 sale.
Right. More like 99 no's.
Yeah.
You're 100th. Yeah, you're 1 yes.
Yeah. It's a numbers game.
It really is. And I think with having that social media and brand behind you,
yes,
it just helps. Because here's a cool story. Just Tuesday, I went to a listing presentation and I'm going into, and I said, how important is it that your realtor understands social media? And they're like, well, no, Andrew, I know where this is going. I'm like, okay, what? She's like, my niece, Emily, looked you up.
Oh.
I was like, your niece? Interesting. I'm like, what did she find? And the response was, it looks very professional. You seem very knowledgeable. And, and you're also, it seems like you know how to have a little fun as well. And so I think that what's important is like, what I like about you is that you have a really good mix of style, leadership, and education and fun, but they all tie in together. Where I see some realtors, nothing like there's wrong with fishing, what I'm about to say, but if you're a realtor and you do a lot of business or you're just starting, but you also like to hunt and fish, and I don't really believe in create unless you're selling that rural lifestyle or something like that. But if you're breaking up your Instagram page with real estate, just sold, just purchased, then some random dogs and some random fishing, so you're next year at a sporting race. I like to keep that on my Instagram stories.
Me too.
You learn more about me on your stories.
Yes.
And I save the feed for those value-added content, fun content, educational content.
And the fun part is, I think, where I'm seeing our business go a little bit more, and that's with the Instagram Reels and the TikToks.
Yep.
And, it was, I'm going to apologize to everyone who had to watch my first Reels that were completely awful, but I knew I wanted something to do with putting the fun out there because honestly, like, it's not that real estate is boring. Seeing just sold, just purchased, which is why I don't even put it on my feed. That to me is like, you want to go and see that stuff. You can go to the Kate Broddick team Instagram page. You'll get all our listings. You'll get all that. But that is not just who I am. Like, it's about bringing your personality into maybe controversial topics that nobody wants to talk about, and then being able to write them up or being able to share your knowledge, maybe in a more fun and lighthearted way, or, talking about your team, promoting your team. People like to see real.
I agree.
People like to see fun.
And I've always done that.
Yes.
And you'd be surprised, even to extent when I first met Ryan and Nikki, were like, you're sharing a little too much. And I would have friends comment and be like, you're sharing a little too much. And I'm like, I'm sorry. That's just
who
me.
I am. Yeah. And you know what though? You'll have your market, and that's the best part about it. And I really do love the stories. And obviously I watch your stories and I get to see your kids and they're so cute. And it brings an element of realness to you as a realtor, because you do have a family. You have a very young family, and you're still doing this wonderful business. And you've got 10-month-old, 20-month-old, and
then a 6 year.
Wow. Like and you're managing this, but people get an inside look to who you are, and it brings back that human side. And you know, that's why even when I share my stories and my kids and my home life, it's because, you know what, like, we do have a lot to manage, but we're doing it. Yeah. And we're loving it while we're doing it.
And it also shows people that, I mean, because most of my followers are other realtors. So
I have a lot of that as well.
So it shows those realtors what can be done.
Yes.
But what I believe in is that it's about attraction, not prospecting.
Yes.
And that's kind of how the way the business has worked for the last couple of years for me, which has been great because I get to be myself, put myself out there, and just kind of work with the people that I want to work with.
Yeah.
Kate, this has been amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've really appreciated, you know, getting all that insight into your team, into your business. That's been very helpful. Where can, you know, everybody find you, I guess?
Well, I'm on Instagram most. It's crack. Everyone knows that.
Yep.
It's agent.kate is my personal, or at the Kate Broddick team. Same thing with Facebook. It just kind of shares to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Make it easy.
I probably haven't even logged into Facebook in a while, but and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Bus Conference tomorrow.
Yeah, likewise.
I'll be there listening to you, cheering you on.
Thank you.
Heckling a little bit, maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, that was funny. Everybody wants to heckle Dean.
I will be there for Dean as well.
Yes, exactly. So again, thank you so much.
Always.
And for those who are watching and listening, you know, we couldn't do it without you, and we wouldn't want to. So thank you very much.